Okay, so let's move forward. Connected now already. Okay, connected already. Yes. Okay. So Radhesham was quoting that okay, he asked this this Shilpapa disciple that no, uh, 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 he asked about his health. And then he said, how is your health? It seems that your health is down. Your health is not very good, these days. So he said this. So that's what Rashid was. And Maharaj told him that better to have a sickly body and take shelter of Krishna than to have a healthy body and do some gratification. Yeah, that's what he told actually. So many times you see the point is that material factors may or may not resolve. But uh, material factors may or may not resolve. That is the point. But spiritually, there is nothing which is obstructing us. This is the this is the big so this is the that's what Shanagati is all about, is it not? Shanagati is not all about resolving all material factors. So Shanagati is about Samadhi is not just about resolving all material factors, all material situations and everything. Samadhi is just about moving forward, whether or not material things get resolved. Whether it is resolved, dissolved, not dissolved, doesn't matter. We should be on the move. Okay, let's see the next verse. Text 63. Iti te jnanamakhyatam guhyad guhyataram maya vimrusyaita dasheshena yathechasi tatha kuru. Yeah. Thus I have explained to you knowledge which is still more confidential. And now the Lord is telling, deliberate on this fully and then do whatever you wish to do. The Lord has already explained to Arjuna the knowledge of Brahma Bhuta. One who is in the Brahma Bhuta condition is joyful. He never laments, nor does he desire anything. That is due to confidential knowledge. Krishna also discloses knowledge of the super soul. This is also Brahman knowledge of Brahman, but it is superior. Here the word Jata Ichhasi Tatha Kuru. As you like, you may act. Indicate that God does not interfere with the little independence of the living entity. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has explained in all respects how one can elevate his living condition. The best advice imparted to Arjuna is to surrender unto the super soul seated within his heart. By right discrimination, one should agree to act according to the order of the super soul. That will help one become situated constantly in Krishna consciousness, the highest perfectional stage of human life. Arjuna is being directly ordered by the personality of Godhead to fight. Surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is in the best interest of the living entities. It is not for the interest of the Supreme. Before surrendering, one is free to deliberate on the subject as far as the intelligence goes. That is the best way to accept the instruction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such instruction comes also through the spiritual master, the bona fide representative of Krishna. Ipite jnanamakhyatam guhyataranmayam. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining here that yes, the knowledge of the characteristic situation of the soul as the Brahmabhuta state, that itself is confidential. But now when one talks about the super soul, that is even more confidential actually. That is even more confidential. So the point is that now we or the living entity is endeavoring to advance spiritually. That's one level of understanding. Actually, a better and a more proper understanding is that the Lord is helping the living entity coming closer to us, coming closer to Him. So the living entity is going closer to Krishna. That's one level of understanding. But a deeper level or a more accurate level of understanding is that actually the Lord is helping the living entity coming closer to Him. So Krishna is always active. Rather, Krishna is most active. Now the point is, you see, from a materialistic point of view, many times people say that Lord is, God seems to be inactive and lazy, all his energies are working, but what God is doing, natasya karyam karyam cha vidyate. Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. What is the Lord doing? What is the Lord doing? The Lord is most active. So now in terms of felicitation and in terms of organization, the Lord's energies, parasya shaktir vividhaiva shruyate, the Lord's energies are doing everything. So what is the Lord focusing on? The Lord's focus is on personal reciprocation for each and every living entity. So one is organization of felicitation. That the parasya shaktir is happening. But the personal reciprocation with each and every living entity, that the Lord has made Himself completely available for him. That is His focus. Therefore, the Lord is actually most active. And this is the most confidential dimension of the reality of this world. That yes, the process of bhakti requires tapasya, austerity, and one has to be very committed and enthusiastic. One has to, walk the path despite all obstacles. That's fine. But much more than we endeavor, the Lord endeavors. That's the point. Much more than what the living entity endeavors, the Lord endeavors. So yes, a living entity has to endeavor. Like we, when sadhana bhakti requires that endeavor, utsahat, nishayat, dharyat, so many do's, so many don'ts, and being steadfast, being irrespective of all the turbulence and haziness, and one has to try. Yes, there is no doubt that the living entity endeavors, and the living entity require that the especially it is said that the path back to Godhead or the path of spiritual elevation is like a mountain climb. So the living entity requires that stamina, and that requires that commitment that yes, I cannot afford to stop. I have to move on. But much more than the living entity's endeavor is Krishna's endeavor to help the living entity come close to him, to guide the living entity to come close to him. Because see, the point is that since the living entity or since a practicing sadhaka is still conditioned, therefore sooner or later he slips off. Sooner or later he slips off, sooner or later he goes in a wrong trajectory. It is the Lord who keeps guiding him all through. All through. So the Lord is working even harder. Krishna is working even harder than the living entity. Therefore, understanding that is the more confidential dimension of reality. Understanding the reciprocation of the super soul, the Paramatma, the super soul. That is the even more higher dimension of reality. And now when the Supreme Lord is telling Arjuna, Vimrisheda Asheshena, you just deliberate and then whatever you wish to do with it. So this deliberation which the Lord is talking about, this deliberation is not a blind deliberation. It is not a blind deliberation. Okay, that you just think about it, and you make a list plus minus whatever, and whichever direction you want to go goes. This deliberation, the Lord has already given the direction on which to deliberate upon. So yes, deliberation on the on long-lasting happiness, deliberation on uh, uh, the spiritual nature, the eternal needs of the spiritual soul. That deliberation itself can set one right. Exposing the illusions and creating that discriminative vision, which can actually differentiate between right and wrong, between flickering and lasting. So that is why that dimension is also called as confidential dimension. So that itself is very glorious. But then the Lord is telling even more glorious and confidential is the dimension of the reciprocation of the spirit soul, the reality of the spirit soul, the supreme soul, super soul, reality of the super soul. So now, this is the point. So that is, so the Lord has set the directionality of deliberation, and now the Lord is telling deliberate and then act as you wish. So actually what the Lord is telling, I have already told you in what direction to churn, is it not? Now you churn on it and you go deeper into it and you realize that even more and more and more. And then when you are on that platform of churning this directionality or deliberating on the mercy of the Lord, deliberating how by the mercy of the Lord all one's spiritual needs get fulfilled and satisfied. When one does that, then the Lord is saying, then on that platform, whatever you wish you can do. Because on that platform, whatever one wishes will be very pleasing to Krishna. That's the point. Just like when a person is pure in his consciousness, in whatever way he serves will be very pleasing to Krishna. Is it not? All uniqueness, unique flavors and individuality make sense and meaning when one is transcendentally situated. Just like Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, what he says, what did he say? Mahaprabhu Kripa, Karila Vichar, Vichar Korite Pave Chamatkar. So he is telling Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, why did you deliberate on how merciful Lord Chaitanya is? And therefore, he is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is telling that you use all your logic and all your arguments to understand now how merciful Krishna Lord Chaitanya is. And when you understand that, you will understand that logic cannot understand how merciful Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is. So, so deliberation is a directed deliberation. The direction is set by the Lord. And now the acharyas are telling deliberate on this. How merciful Krishna is it not? How merciful Krishna is. Similarly, Sukadev Maharaj also says how merciful Krishna is it not? Avobakiyam sanakala kutam kamva dayalu sharanam rajema. Who is that fool who will search for any other direction, any other person to take shelter of other than Krishna? Who can there be a person who is more merciful than Krishna? That is the direction of deliberation. And this deliberation can lead to wonders and magic which happens, takes place. That's the point. And on such a platform, all individuality and uniqueness is welcome. Because everything will be a special unique flavor which will please Krishna in a very special way. That's the point, which is being mentioned here. And that's what Lord is telling, Yatha Ichchasi Tatha Kuru. Interesting, right? When Bhagavad Gita began, the Lord did not say Yatha Ichchasi Tatha Kuru. Because one who is in ignorance will only commit suicide if you give him freedom to do it. Because that's the meaning of ignorance. See, ignorance means whatever freedom and scope one has, one will go and destroy it also. Suicide, no? You see? So, person in ignorance, a person in deep dark ignorance, if you tell him, okay, you are free to do whatever you want to do, he will go and kill somebody, then he will go and kill himself also. Or he will just kill himself. That means whatever he had, he will destroy that also. So such a person should not be told, Yatha Ichchasi Tatha Kuru. Such a person should be told, okay, you just do what I am telling you to do. You don't apply your brain, because your brain you are going to create a lot of problems for yourself. Yatha Ichchasi Tatha Kuru is there for a person who is transcended the modes. And he should be Yatha Ichchasi, because whatever he will do will be auspicious. Because he is a transcendentally endowed. So Yatha Ichchasi Tatha Kuru is not coming in the second chapter, the first chapter. It's coming in the 18th chapter. Interesting, no? So this deliberation is a directed deliberation. It's not an indiscriminate deliberation. So that's the point actually. Okay, let's read the next verse and now page 64. Sarvapunyatamam bhuya. Verse 64, yes. Shrunu me paramam vacha. Ishtosi me dridhamiti. Tato vakshyami te hitam. Now the Lord is telling, because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. So this is amazing. The Lord is telling here, because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this for me, from me, for it is for your benefit. The Lord has given Arjuna knowledge. The Lord has given Arjuna knowledge that is confidential. Knowledge of Brahman, and still more confidential, knowledge of Super Soul within everyone's heart. And now he's given the most confidential part of knowledge. Just surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. At the end of the 9th chapter, he has said, Man Manaha, just always think of me. The same instruction is repeated here to stress the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. This essence is not understood by a common man, but by one who is actually very dear to Krishna, a pure devotee of Krishna. This is the most important instruction in all the Vedic knowledge. What Krishna is saying in this connection is the most essential part of knowledge, and it should be carried out not only by Arjuna but by all the living entities. So such a beautiful prelude to the call for Sharanagati. Lord is telling, Sarva Guhyatamam. Now I will just declare to you my supreme instruction. Ishtosmi Kridamiti. Just stick on to that. It's for your benefit I'm saying. Tato Vakshyami Tehitam. Your benefit I'm speaking this. So, see, this goes to show that the Lord is never inactive. You are making the point that the Lord is more active than what the living entity can be. It's not that, for going back to Godhead, we are struggling. So whatever we are struggling and working hard, the Supreme Lord is working harder. And therefore, all the Acharyas and the spiritual masters working harder than us for our deliverance. And the supreme-most instruction of the revelation is to just deliberate on this aspect, on this aspect of the reality. And so we should not just deliberate, okay, how hard I am struggling to serve Krishna. Oh, we should deliberate on how hard the Lord is struggling to help me become Krishna consciousness, how hard the spiritual master, the devotees are struggling to help me, become Krishna consciousness. If we just focus on this and deliberate on this, our advancement is going to be at the highest speed, the spiritual advancement. This is the supreme instruction. Sarva Guhyatamam Bhuyaha. The supreme instruction which the Lord is offering us. And in fact, this is the essence of teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna is not so Krishna is not like Krishna is not like an advisor. So he has given some vision, he has given some Krishna is not just like a mundane advisor actually. That Krishna has given us some vision and he's telling, okay, now whatever you want to do, okay, get no, go to the side, whatever you want to do. It's a Krishna is not like that actually. Krishna is so much involved. And that is why Krishna is not stopping. Now the Lord is telling, now you just do this one thing. You just do this one thing. Just surrender to me. That's it. And I will take care of everything else. Just surrender. That's what the Lord is mentioning here. Uh, so material progress means developing or inventing newer and newer ways to forget Krishna. Whereas spiritual progress is just the opposite. He's saying spiritual progress means developing newer and newer visions, how to remain even more strongly progressing towards Krishna, or to be how to be in a situation to even more strongly remember Krishna. So that's the point. Even more strongly remember Krishna. So that is what the Lord is talking about. That is exactly what the Lord is talking about here. And Krishna is telling, I am determined to help you, I am determined to love you. Deliberate on that aspect. And I am ready to give you everything. So that was when Krishna is telling, okay, just surrender to me. What does it mean? It means that the Lord is telling, I am ready to give you everything. You just accept it. That's it. Don't throw it off after receiving it. First of all, receive it and preserve it. Don't throw it off after receiving it. Is it not? That's exactly what the Lord is mentioning. And see, it's just, that's why the most Guhya Tamam, the supreme installment of mercy which Krishna is giving us. Take 65. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mam evyasasi evaisyasi satyam te prati jane priyosi me. So the Lord is telling, always think of me. Become my devotee. Worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus, you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Because you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. So, the most confidential part of knowledge is that one should become a pure devotee of Krishna and should always think of him and act for him. One should not become an official meditator. Krishna is telling one should not become an official meditator. Life should be so molded that one will always have the chance to think of Krishna. One should always act in such a way that his daily activities are in connection with Krishna. One should always act in such a way that his daily activities are in connection with Krishna. He should arrange his life in such a way that throughout the 24 hours, he cannot but think of Krishna. And the Lord's promise is that anyone who is in such pure Krishna consciousness will certainly return to the abode of Krishna, where he will be engaged in association of Krishna face to face. This most confidential part of knowledge is spoken to Arjuna because he is the dear friend of Krishna. Everyone who follows in the path of Arjuna can become a dear friend to Krishna and obtain the same perfection as Arjuna. These words stress that one should concentrate his mind upon Krishna. The very form with two hands carrying a flute, the bluish boy with a beautiful face and peacock feathers in his hair. These are the descriptions of Krishna found in the Brahma Samhita and other literatures. One should fix his mind on this original form of Godhead, Krishna. One should not even divert his attention to other forms of the Lord. The Lord has multi forms. as the Lord is multiform as Vishnu, Narayan, Ram, Varaha, etc. But a devotee should concentrate his mind on the form that was present before Arjuna. Concentration of the mind on the form of Krishna constitutes the most confidential part of knowledge, and this is disclosed to Arjuna because Arjuna is the most dear friend of Krishna's. Arjuna is the most dear friend of Krishna. So, yes. So, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning here, very interesting. Prabhupada is saying, you see, quite interesting and so amazing. Prabhupada is telling here, one should not become an official meditator. One should not become an official meditator. Yeah. So, official meditator. That's a very interesting term. One should not become an official meditator. So one has to understand that uh, one has to understand that Krishna consciousness is about uh, always thinking of Krishna, always reciprocating with Krishna. So the default, so we are changing our default settings completely. No. It's not that okay, we will cater to Krishna also. During the course of the day, we'll cater to Krishna's needs. We'll offer some activities which are for pleasing to Krishna. No, Krishna consciousness is all about only Krishna, thinking of only Krishna. So we have studied this time and again. You see, even chapter 8 talks about that yes, the price which one has to pay to go back to God is constant, 24 hours. Remember, it's a Krishna. So Krishna is not telling, okay, you remember me sometime, at least every day if you give me some time, then it is good enough. Krishna is telling 24 hours. So that's what here again that point comes out in which the Lord is explaining that one should think of Krishna always. Not that okay, sometime we'll give some time to Krishna. Krishna is saying no, that is not the platform. If one says no, we'll give sufficient time to Krishna. Sadhaka, you see what a sadhaka does? A sadhaka gives sufficient time to Krishna. Now he is doing the morning program from 4 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and he's doing the morning program. He does some services also. He's a sadhaka. He gives sufficient time to Krishna. But Krishna is telling that is also not sufficient. So giving some time to me, that is also not sufficient. Giving sufficient time to me, that is also not sufficient. So what do you want? Krishna is telling, I want all the time. And that all the time is not for Krishna's sake. It is for our sake. Whatever time we invest for Krishna, that creates auspiciousness. And whatever time we invest for ourselves, that creates poisonous effects. Is it not? So, that is the point which is highlighted here. All the time for Krishna. So therefore, actually, uh, one should not just remain on the platform of official meditators. Uh, uh, Many times devotees come to the platform of thinking that okay, I am doing a certain level of practice of Krishna consciousness and that is good enough. That is good enough. Sometimes devotees feel like that okay, Vani program is over, all whatever devotee type, whatever I wanted to do, now it's all over. Now I will live my life. You know, that's called as official meditation. He only meditates on Krishna till the time breakfast doesn't come. Once breakfast comes, he forgets everything. Is it not? Only to remember Krishna the next day. So that is called as official meditator. He's meditating so that so his meditation ends with the breakfast. Official meditator. Is it not? One should not be an official meditator. Proper respect. Uh, so that is why Krishna consciousness is not about doing a certain fixed hours of sadhana. Krishna consciousness is all about uh, molding and centering everything around Krishna. Further, Srila Prabhupada explains that one should concentrate one's mind to fix one's mind, concentrate one's mind upon Krishna. The Prabhupada is telling this concentration is what is the crux of the essence. Concentration of the mind on the form of the Lord, on the Supreme Lord of Krishna, on the Supreme Personality of God Krishna. Concentration of the mind is what constitutes is what constitutes the topmost rung of yoga. The Lord is describing that's what constitutes the most confidential part of knowledge. Concentration is what constitutes the most in the form of knowledge. I mean, the most confidential part of knowledge. Actually, and then Prabhupada goes on to say that one should not even concentrate on other forms of the Lord. One should not even concentrate on other forms of the Lord. Because that don't divert your attention. That's what the Lord is saying. So basically, the point of the calling is here that and actually what happens is, see, although a devotee starts becoming very, very specific, a devotee does not want to lose any chance whatsoever. See, one who is very much focused, he will be super conscious or super careful. Even a slight factor which can create an agitation or a disturbance, he will not allow that. See, that is the stage. So that means that Samutkanta for Krishna should go so strong. It is going so strong that one is not even ready to focus on other forms of Lord Vishnu. So okay, other forms are all transcendental, spiritual, everything. But let me just focus on one. That's the exact thing which one comes to actually. That's it. So as a sadhaka, what one starts doing is that one starts fixing one factor in such a way that it stabilizes one's remembrance of Krishna. So one starts doing gross fixation, like we come in association devotee gross fixation, is it not? We commit to the morning program, it's a little better, it's a little strong, even stronger.